Why is the Mile High Club in Los Santos not yet finished? If we want to be boring, we can assume that Rockstar would hesitate to permanently change the building in any significant way, as this would break all of the missions that are playable in the current unfinished version of the building. However, there are actual in-universe reasons this building has yet to be completed. So let me now explain to you why no one in Los Santos actually wants this building to be finished. So we first see the building standing unfinished in GTA 5, and while the game is set in 2013, it isn't clear when the construction originally started. Of course, the building is based on the real-life Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Los Angeles that started construction in 2007 and was finished in 2010. Maybe Rockstar envisioned the Mile High Club also starting in 2007, but there is nothing concrete to suggest this. However, regardless of when the construction first started, when we first see it, it is clearly behind schedule. For most single-player games, it would be completely fine that this building remained unfinished because their worlds forever stay locked in the time period the game is set in. But GTA 5 is different because time has continued to progress in its world through GTA Online. Currently, each update for the game is canonically set in the year of its release. In other words, the updates that happened in 2018 happened in 2018 Los Santos, 2019's updates were set in 2019 Los Santos, and so on. This means that in present-day GTA Online, over a decade has meant to have progressed in the world of Los Santos since GTA 5, and yet we see no progress on this bloody building. The foundation for the reasons why started in GTA 5 in 2013, but they continue into modern-day GTA Online. So let's talk about how everyone who is associated with the Mile High Club at every level seems to believe they would make more money by the building not being completed. There are 4 broad groups involved, and we will start at the very top, even if the information is the most speculative of the 4. Now, you might have noticed that for the people of Los Santos, one of their favorite hobbies is committing insurance fraud.
Oh my God. Get out the fucking way.
We see this with Michael in the mission Mr. Richards.
Hello.
This is where we meet the gangster Rocco Pelosi, and on the mission, his employees speak openly about how they think Rocco is pulling an insurance scam.
It's hard to tell with these mob guys, you know. I don't know if he actually wants to turn it into a club, or, you know, burn it down and claim the insurance money. Only I think this Rocco guy is so stupid, he wants to do both. You know, take the cash out and have this date rape palace operational.
We also see this with Josh Bernstein, a failed ex-real estate agent who hires Trevor on the side missions to real estate with the exact same goal in mind.
Well, if something was to happen in the place, you know, some gas gets spilled, I'd still get the full value in the insurance. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I understand.
However, these guys are nothing compared to Devin Weston. While throughout the game he seems to commit every white-collar crime that exists, he especially loves insurance fraud. Franklin steals the JB700 on the mission deep inside, at the direction of Devin, which enables Devin to commit insurance fraud.
Insurance companies hate these kinds of claims. They don't like cats with the inside edge, shorten them either.
On the mission Legal Trouble, Devin Weston speaks of his plans for insurance fraud with the production of the movie Meltdown.
The movie's nearly done, so if the plug's pulled now, the investors, meaning us, get a massive insurance payout.
Michael, they're fucking us! The suits! And they don't even wear suits!
The million-dollar question is Devin Weston connected with the Mile High Club, and is he using it in some sort of insurance scam? Devin Weston unfortunately does not give us a rundown of every crime he was doing at the time, so we can only tie him indirectly to the Mile High Club. During the game, Molly sends us a message to say that we should meet Devin at his new construction development on Alta. The key point is that he owns it, which ties him to the very shady STD contractors who are handling the construction. This group is only known to be working on 3 projects based on their signs and vehicles at particular sites. The first is Devin's construction on Alta. The second is a planned apartment building near the La Puerta freeway. The final project is the Mile High Club. Could it be possible that Devin is also involved in the other 2 STD developments? Throughout the game, Devin certainly speaks like he owns and runs the world.
Frankly, I'm rich enough to do whatever the fuck I want, and you're poor enough not to ask me any goddamn stupid questions. I am opportunity, I'm security, I'm fast cars, blow jobs, I got the world on a plate. Fed, Steve Haynes, Dave Norton. I make one phone call, their careers, they are over. A billionaire, who even the president lets finger his wife.
And his website showcases that he's involved in a staggering amount of projects. And those are just the ones he wants to put publicly on his website. Real estate, sports teams, movie production, shopping malls, cloning, the list goes on and on. I have a finger in it all. I crashed the market. They'll tell you it was the subprime mortgage crisis, but it was me. I've made so much money it bores me. He has literally bought and deliberately bankrupted more companies than he's had hot dinners. As he seems to have endless fraudulent business ventures, it is plausible that Devon could have been sabotaging the Mile High Club through STD contractors to gain financially, in the same way we see him doing for his other business ventures.
5 top quality scores, big ticket cars, major payday, bro. I'm a major shareholder in that same studio, so what we just did is practically legal.
So the first obstacle for the building is the possibility of it being intentionally delayed by investors as part of an insurance scam, whether that be by Devon or someone else, as it seems like everyone's doing it. As I said previously, this is the most speculative part of the video, but it does receive supporting evidence from the other 3 obstacles. The next group involved I mentioned previously, STD contractors. Most of what we can infer about STD is from Enzo Benelli, who was a prominent figure in STD contractors, and he was also a real estate developer. You might remember him as one of the targets that Lester sends Franklin to assassinate. Lester explains that Enzo used extortion, murder, and labor racketeering to bully his way onto half the building contracts in the city, and his doing this directly threatened the existence of other real estate firms.
Mafia guy turned real estate developer. He's bullied his way onto half the building contracts in Los Santos. Extortion, murder, labor racketeering, you name it. There's not a construction worker in town earning a livable wage right now, and Gold Coast Development is about to go under.
As you likely know, Franklin succeeds in killing Enzo Benelli, which results in the primary competing real estate company, Gold Coast Development, having its stock price surge, showing Enzo's importance to the company. Enzo being Italian-American and having ties to the Mafia was obviously a specific choice by Rockstar. The issues that Enzo seems to cause for construction in Los Santos is exactly what the real-life Italian Mafia are notorious for causing for construction projects in Italy. So given Enzo's background and his connection to Devon Weston through the Alta construction, as well as both of them having a prior history of fraud, it is plausible that they both were involved in some sort of fraud with the Mile High Club. As you already know, both Enzo and Devon died canonically in 2013. This, however, would not immediately stop their impeding of this building's construction. While STD Contractors does survive past Enzo, even if in a diminished state, both of these men were leaders of a criminal real estate empire. Their deaths are naturally going to cause delays in any project they were previously involved in. Even Devon's second-in-command, Molly, died as well. A key feature of doing financial crimes is that you specifically do not have easy-to-understand ownership structures, and you give those under you only what information they explicitly need to know. Ultimately, when a criminal syndicate collapses, all the assets are going to sit in limbo. It isn't clear who owned them in the past, who owns them now, or who should own them in the future. It would potentially take years for that to be figured out by anyone interested in putting particular focus on completing these projects. So it's not just that Enzo and Devon were possibly causing delays while they were alive, but their deaths would also cause delays in any construction they were involved in. But obviously, these two alone would not be sufficient to stop the building from being completed, especially in the long term. After all, the builders are still showing up to the worksite every day. Unfortunately, their efforts will not save this building because construction workers throughout Los Santos admit that they don't want to complete any of their jobs. To understand why they don't want to finish, it is important to know that the government is directly involved in the construction of the Mile High Club, and the builders we see are being paid by the government to work.
Those idiots drilled the new caissons on the west side. You're kidding me. The bedrock ends there. We need caissons on the east side.
No drama. It's a government contract. We'll be paid until completion.
I ain't taking a fall for this screw-up.
It's a government contract. No one's taking a fall, except the government.
With that revelation, you might ask why, if the government's involved, that they didn't just throw infinite money at the Mile High Club to get it finished. And the answer is they couldn't. In GTA 5, a key point of the story is that in 2013 when it was set, the American economy wasn't doing well. There was in fact a recession, which inspired the government to cut funding from wherever they could, like the FIB, the IAA, and the prison system. This is actually what caused the FIB and IAA to fight with each other for funding throughout the game.
The funding war between IAA and FIB intensifies after Congress promised to slash spending and both agencies recommend it's the other one.
It's also why Stretch and maybe Mrs. Phillips were let out of prison early. So while the government isn't going to allocate more funds to the Mile High Club, the contracts have already been signed and the builders will be paid until the job is completed. Once it is complete, the builders will need to find new work in a recession with a government that does not want to spend any money on new projects.
You collect a weekly paycheck, don't you?
Yes, so what?
So you think they're building anything else in this city with all the economy uncertainty and no election coming up?
They're always building something.
State's got no money. They ran out. The colleges are screwed. Nothing's being signed off. So ride it hard and put away wet, long as we can.
But ain't the money gonna run out?
You said the state was broke.
They can't pull the plug. Makes them look bad. They'll borrow more, shut down schools, anything to keep us going.
So, what do we do to make sure the project lasts long enough?
We work as slow as possible. We screw stuff up so we have to do it again.
But they'll fire us.
No one gets fired off government contracts.
So the builders collectively decided that maybe this job should go on as long as possible. It's as Lester says at the end of cleaning out the bureau.
Government contracts, license to steal.
You can hear more evidence of this on the mission architect plans, which involves Franklin going after the lead architect of the Mile High Club, who was very frustrated that the builders never seemed to get anything done correctly.
What don't they see? It's in the plans. The waste goes here. Obviously. These are out by a good margin. A child could execute this with more exactitude. Do I have to be down here every freaking day?
However, it is from the workers that we hear of the fourth group that is benefiting from this construction not being finished.
No one gets fired off government contracts. Besides, we're kicking back 10% to that state senator who put our contract through.
Ah, that makes sense.
Some of the government, some of it is pretty corrupt.
Not your bit, right?
Yes, but we're corrupt in a good way.
Apparently, it's fairly common for government officials in Los Santos to skim off the top of any construction projects that they are responsible for. The longer a project goes on, the more funding that gets allocated, and therefore, the more kickbacks they'd receive. In other words, even on the government's end, the guy overseeing this project isn't going to be the one pushing to get it done. As an aside, the involvement of the government would be another angle suggesting Devon's involvement. Devon is openly very involved with the government, like the FIB through Steve and Dave. He's also heavily involved with Merriweather.
And Devon Weston is A, known to be a major asshole, and B, known to be friendly with Don Percival, who runs Merriweather. I think actually Weston owns a piece of Merriweather. Right, 11%.
But also the president, and even on social media, he speaks of how politicians attempt to court his endorsement. It would be well within his power to set up a corrupt government deal with this building. So the bottom line is, in 2013, the investors, the contractors, the workers, and the government were all corrupt and had reason to not have the building completed. Each was trying in their own way to rig things to maximize profits, regardless of the cost of the actual construction itself. This is not unique to the Mile High Club. You can hear characters casually mention how every construction project tends to be like this in the city.
Man, that freeway's been under construction for like 20 years.
It looks good. We're lucky these projects take so long.
Fun fact, the work Lester is looking at here seems to also be an STD construction. I don't think they're taking so long is a coincidence. I feel it's important to point out that nowhere in the construction itself does it mention STD's involvement. The only evidence of their involvement is that Lester has the STD logo on his heist planning board next to the drill to be used in the metro. But everything I've described so far is largely for Los Santos in 2013. Even with the worst legal hurdles and the most optimistic delaying attempts to maximize the money taken from the government, over a decade later, the Mile High Club should look like this. Why is this not the case? Why are we left to live out this dream with the building made by the Ambitioneers for 5M servers? Sadly, while the current year Los Santos in GTA Online is different from Los Santos of the past, it is still the same in the worst ways. I previously mentioned Gold Coast Development, whose stock price surged after Enzo was killed, which ended STD Contractors' tight grip on real estate construction. Rather than this ushering in a gold era free of corruption, where Gold Coast Development swoops in and completes all of STD's prior contracts, we learn that they are no different, they are just as bad. We learn of this when Franklin calls us for a payphone hit in GTA Online to kill their CEO, which is ironic given that 10 years earlier, Franklin killed Enzo, which caused the company's success in the first place.
The CEO of Gold Coast Development. This dude is a world-class asshole, union busting, poor working conditions, corruption, intimidation, man, you name it. Now, full disclosure. I did some work a while ago that gave this asshole market value a boost, but that was before I heard what a piece of shit this fucker really is.
Remember that STD is apparently still around even with the death of Enzo. It seems they're very hard, if not impossible, to get rid of. This suggests that, even in present day, STD still has the Mile High Club contracts. But Gold Coast Development showcases why even today, completing the Mile High Club isn't as easy as firing STD contractors and moving to another company. They are simply all corrupt and engage in the same bullshit. But GTA Online does give us greater insight into what this bullshit entails. GTA 5 in the past largely just hinted at how the different parties would be delaying the building for profit. In GTA Online, on the other hand, we more directly see the sabotage going on with these construction construction sites. In the malicious mischief missions for Vincent, we learn how common it is for the big players in Los Santos to try and commit insurance fraud by paying criminals to destroy buildings or ongoing construction and then paying off the LSPD to look the other way.
The Los Santos State Gas Company. They plan to sabotage their own equipment for a sizable insurance handout. And the LSPD? They've already accepted a bribe to look the other way. You know much about the Landak Dam? Been a drain on resources for some time now. Funny how the money they request never seems to go towards maintenance. Now what happens when a beloved institution goes up in smoke? Insurance payouts. Might explain why explosives have been sighted at the observatory and why the LSPD flagged this as a non-issue. Palmer Taylor Power Station's looking for an insurance payout, and the LSPD, they're looking for pocket money. Los Santos Business 101. You hire outsiders to rig your facility, blow an irreparable hole in production, take the insurance money, and then take off.
One thing that certainly hasn't changed since 2013 is that everyone in Los Santos still loves committing insurance fraud. What's most important, however, is that we see them doing it at the Mile High Club.
After all these years, complaints to the station about this construction site are a daily occurrence. But these latest reports of suspicious devices on site, I suspect the contractors are planning some self-sabotage. Word is, they're thinking of abandoning the project. Might as well blow the foundations and reclaim some of the loss, am I right? Especially if the LSPD are willing to tamper with paperwork in exchange for a cut of the insurance payout.
Vincent says this sabotage is being done by the building's contractors. While he doesn't mention STD contractors specifically, given that STD are still around, I think it likely we are meant to conclude that they are still the ones who hold the contract and they have been delaying and sabotaging the job all this time. I mean, their name is still all over the building after all. This conclusion is further evidenced in the A Safe House in the Hills update. The mission, new listings, fixes and fittings, sees Raph task us to head over to the Mile High Club to steal building supplies, and he casually drops this information.
Listen, I'm gonna be super straight with you. The guys we're using to renovate the properties, they're not exactly legitimate, but hey, this is Los Santos. No shit, every construction company's mob endorsed. So listen, you don't gotta feel bad about, stealing a load of materials from STD's site. It saves us money, keeps their guys happy, and have you seen how long they've been working on that complex? Fuck them.
So Raph confirms that it is still STD's construction site. Furthermore, not only is all construction in the city mob-run and therefore prone to corruption and things not getting done, either purposely or due to inter-gang disputes, but we the players have now ourselves actively contributed to the Mile High Club not getting finished as we are taking their supplies. So at the start of the story, we learned that when we first saw the Mile High Club in 2013, effectively everyone was corrupt and stood to gain by having it not be finished. In current year, this has not changed. In fact, things may arguably be worse, because everyone doing any sort of construction in Los Santos is corrupt. They are doing whatever it takes to rob the government, insurance companies, and each other of the most they possibly can, while seemingly doing as little actual construction as possible. Honestly, we shouldn't be surprised when buildings don't get completed, we should be surprised when they do. So will Rockstar one day complete the Mile High Club? A part of me hopes there is someone at Rockstar already assigned to the job. Someone who has been working on it now for over a decade, who has spent all that time finding any way to avoid actually working on the job, and further inventing every excuse imaginable to justify to their boss why no progress ever gets made. Doing this all so they continue to get that easy paycheck for doing nothing. As unlikely as that is, it would be poetic.